class in Assessment and Evaluation in Mathematics. Our subject is called Assessment and Evaluation in Mathematics, but I would like to start with Evaluation in Mathematics. Many people think that evaluation is a sort or some sort of an assessment. In particular, in the context of mathematics, whenever evaluation is mentioned, people think of tests and scores. But evaluation is not a part of assessment. Assessment is a part of evaluation. And actually, assessment is an essential and necessary part of evaluation. Because in evaluation, we need data and information as basis for our evaluation. And assessment gives us one of the ways to generate data and information to form our basis for our evaluation. And tests and scores, generating scores, are only one of the methods we use for assessment. Now, what is the meaning of evaluation? Evaluation is concerned with the improvement of instruction. And actually, that is one of the two major purposes for undertaking an evaluation. There are two main purposes for undertaking evaluation. Number one, evaluation is concerned with improvement of instruction. And number two, evaluation is concerned with enhancement of learning. Again, the two main purposes for undertaking an evaluation by a teacher are the following. Number one, for improvement of teaching or instruction. And number two, for enhancement of learning. Thus, evaluation is concerned with improvement of instruction. And in relation to this, evaluation involves decisions regarding the effectiveness of the entire or the whole instructional program of the teacher. In evaluation, we evaluate how the strategies and teaching methods and teaching techniques employed by a teacher have been successful or effective in attaining the learning objectives specified for the mathematics topics or lessons. And number three, evaluation is concerned with enhancement of learning. Now, what do we evaluate? There are many expectations for a mathematics student. A mathematics student should learn the concepts, mathematical concepts. A mathematics student should learn terms, terminology, mathematical terminologies. A mathematics student should be able to acquire skill and mathematical skills and competencies, and a mathematics student should be able to apply the skills with some competence in problem solving or in solving problems. A mathematics student should be able to make an inference or a generalization. And a mathematics student should be able to reason out deductively. But these are only some of the expectations from a mathematics student. And all these expectations are specified and indicated in what are known as mathematical learning objectives. In undertaking an evaluation, we will determine how well these learning objectives have been achieved and attained. So evaluation is also concerned with determining the amount, and amount refers to quantity. Evaluation is concerned with determining the quantity and the quality of student understanding, performance, and achievement. Again, evaluation is concerned with improvement of instruction. In relation to number 1, evaluation involves decisions regarding the effectiveness of the entire or the total instructional program of a teacher. Number 3, evaluation is concerned with enhancement of learning. And number 4, evaluation is determining the quantity and the quality of student understanding, performance, and achievement. We said that evaluation is concerned with determining how well the varied mathematical learning objectives have been attained or achieved. And with regards to this meaning of evaluation, we conduct evaluation for us, the teachers, to know how well the students have acquired the skills and a certain level of competencies in applying these skills in problem solving, how well they have learned the mathematical concepts, and how well they can transfer their understanding of these mathematical concepts to different contexts and real-life situations. Now, with regards to evaluation as determining the amount, quantity, and quality of students' understanding, performance, and achievement, in evaluation, we do not consider the high performance of a student who get high score and high performance by rote memorization. Particularly in mathematics, this high performance obtained by rote memorization is not preferred as an indicator of quality of learning. And as an example, a student who is able to explore and to think and solve problem is much better than a mathematics student who can simply recall definition of mathematical terms. And definitely the first type of student who is able to explore and think and solve mathematical problems has attained a better quality of learning than the second one, who may have obtained high performance by simply or by rote memorization. Now, to ensure that we have the data that are excellent indicators of learning and quality learning in mathematics, there are techniques and procedures for collecting data. And these techniques and procedures are also part of evaluation. And we should make a distinction between evaluation and measurement. Measurement is a process of collecting data for the purpose of evaluation. And we now know that evaluation is not simply concerned with determining the level of performance of students, how well they have performed. It is also, evaluation is also useful for the teacher, and may indicate, the results of evaluation may indicate how well the teacher has performed in her teaching. And the next question to answer is, why do we need to conduct evaluation, or why do we need to evaluate? Now, there is a long list of reasons for conducting evaluation. Well, some of these are the following. Number one, we have to determine through evaluation the weaknesses of students, to specifically identify which part of the lesson, which concept, which skill they have difficulty with. And another one is, we have to make a report of the progress of students, either to the principal, to the school head, or to the parents. And number three, we have to make a plan, lesson planning for the next lesson. But this is only some of the reasons why we conduct evaluation. Now, how the teacher can be helped by evaluation, we consider the three types of evaluation, and these are the diagnostic evaluation, formative evaluation, and summative evaluation. Just as we have diagnostic assessment, formative assessment, and summative assessment, we also have diagnostic evaluation, formative evaluation, and summative evaluation. Again, the first type of evaluation is diagnostic evaluation. This type of evaluation takes place at the planning stage for teaching, during the lesson planning. And results of this type of evaluation can help the teacher to improve his or her teaching. And in this phase of lesson planning, the teacher should be able to identify the skills and understandings that the students have already obtained or attained before proceeding to another lesson or to a new lesson or topic in mathematics. For instance, for integration of functions, the students should already have skills in the differentiation or obtaining the derivatives of functions. For without this understanding of the concept of derivative and the skills for applying the differentiation rules, the students will have difficulty in learning integration of functions. And it is important to know the previous knowledge and skills of students for the new lesson. And in this type of evaluation, diagnostic evaluation, the teacher should focus on two aspects of lesson planning. Number one is the content, and number two is the students. The content refers to the topic that has to be taught, to be taken, and by the teacher. And the students are the pupils who have to learn the content or the topics. And we have to seriously consider students because these students have different background knowledge. They have different experiences, and because of their understanding, they are operating on different levels of understandings. And so we have to consider that. And as an example, we consider the following. The topic here is the application of properties of logarithm, and the teacher decides to conduct a diagnostic assessment to generate information for diagnostic evaluation. And one of the problems in that assessment is simplification of this expression that involve index or exponent. And to simplify this expression, the student has to know the properties of exponents and apply these properties of exponents to simplify expressions of this form. Now, one of the students may simplify this in this way. One of the students simplified this expression in this way. He started out by simplifying this, by converting this mixed fraction to improper fraction. So 5.5 is the same as the improper fraction 11 over 2. And he continued by simplifying, by performing the operation multiplication. But before he actually multiplied, he simplified 8 multiplied by 11 over 2. Since 8 is divisible by 2, he proceeded by dividing 8 by 2. And he obtained 4. And then he finally performed the operation multiplication, and 4 times 11 is 44 to the power 12. So this expression in simplified form is 44 to the power 12. And it is in this that the teacher will apply the property of logarithm to find the value of this 44 to the power 12. Now, another student tried to simplify this expression, and he did it this way. As a first step, the student applied one of the properties of exponents. In particular, the second student applied this property of exponent that says the product AB to the power n is the same or is equal to A to the power n times B to the power n. So A times 5½ to the power 12 by this property is equal to A to the power 12 multiplied by 5½ to the power 12. And the student stopped at this and thought that this is the simplified form of this expression, the given expression. Now, considering these two solutions of the two students, you can easily conclude that the first student had a better understanding of the properties of exponents and can readily apply those properties of exponents than the second student. And because of this finding of the teacher may have to do a review of the properties of exponents. But considering the solution of the second student totally missed one of the important tips in simplifying expression, and that is to start with the expression inside the grouping symbol. Before applying the property of exponent, the first student simplified the expression inside, simplified the quantity or the expression inside this grouping symbol, a pair of parentheses. And then he applied the property of exponent. And that is why we have to, the mathematics teacher has to consider the students who have to learn the lesson or the content to be taught, because these students are operating on different levels of understanding. And the levels of understanding in mathematics are associated with the structure of mathematical relationships. And according to John Biggs, there are different levels of understanding, and the lowest level is the simple recall. If you give an item in the test that would require the student to simply recall a definition that the student has memorized, then that level of understanding of the student is the lowest of the levels of understanding. And that lowest level of understanding simply requires the student to recall a definition. But if the student can transfer his or her understanding of that definition to a different context, then a higher level of understanding is attained by the student. We take an example of assessing a level of understanding in a true or false test. As an illustration of how a mathematics teacher can test the levels of understanding of students, consider the following example. This is an item in a true or false test, and is one of the items in the true or false test. In this statement, the student will answer true or false. Upon reading this statement, the student has to decide whether the statement is true or false. We read this statement: a null set is a set with no elements, such as the solution of 2x equals 2 times quantity x plus 1/2. This equation may not be considered by the student at all. The student may totally ignore this equation because it is given as an example with the words such as. This imply that this is an example of a null set. But a student has to know the meaning of a null set before he or she can decide whether this is true. If the student knows that a null set is a set with no elements, without considering this part of the statement, the student will answer true to this statement, which is correct. And for the student to be able to answer this statement as true and correctly, the student has to simply know the definition of a null set. And a null set is defined as a set with no elements. And with that simple recall of the definition of null set, the student can easily answer this correctly as true. So for this type of statement in a true or false test, the level of understanding that is demonstrated by the student in answering this correctly is an example of a low level of understanding. It should be understanding. And according to John Biggs, the lowest level of understanding is simple recall. Now consider this statement. This is also answerable by true or false, but this statement will test if the student has a higher level of understanding of the concept of null set. The solution of 2x equals 2 times quantity x plus 1/2 is a null set. Now, the statement does not give or does not define null set. As in the first statement, that explicitly defines null set as a set with no elements. But in this statement, there is no hint as to the meaning of the word null set. But the student will be able to answer this statement correctly as true. This statement is true if the student knows what is meant by null set. If the student has no hint or understanding of what a null set is, then he will not be able to answer this statement. But that is only part of the level of understanding required for answering this statement, and that is simple recall, knowing the definition of null set. In addition to that, the statement takes the student to a higher level of understanding of the null set when it is applied to a solution of a linear equation given 2x equals 2x plus 1/2. If the student knows the meaning of null set, still he will not or she will not be able to answer this correctly unless he or she solves this linear equation for x. And if she or he solve this linear equation for x, at the end of the solution, the student will know if the solution of this is actually a null set. And if you try to solve this, we would have 2x equals, we apply the distributive property to the right-hand side of the equation, we get 2x plus 1/2. And one of the rules in solving equations is to have all the terms containing the variable at one side of the equation. So it is customary to transpose, we say transpose 2x, this 2x from the right to the left. But the right process is to subtract minus 2x from both sides of the equation, and that is applying one of the properties of equality. If we do that, we subtract 2x from the left and 2x from the right. At the left-hand side, we would get 0. And at the right hand side, we would get 1/2. But this equality is not true because 0 is not equal to 1/2. And arriving at this, the student can definitely conclude that the statement is true. The solution of this linear equation is a null set because there is no value of x that will satisfy this equation. But in addition to knowing the meaning of the term null set, the student also has to have the skills for solving linear equations. And as I was saying, in this true or false test that is meant to test the level of understanding of a student, the student needs more than a simple recall of the definition of a null set. In addition to knowing the definition of null set, the student has to have the skills for solving linear equations and the competency to apply the properties of equality. And so if a student is able to answer this correctly with true, then that student has a high level of understanding of the concept or definition of a null set. But this does not mean that we should always give an item that tests the high level of understanding of students. In some cases, we also need to give items that require the students to use simple recall of the definition of terms and terminologies in mathematics, especially when they are learning the concepts and some topics and contents in mathematics for the first time. Now, as we said earlier, the two main focus of the diagnostic evaluation are content and students who are to learn the content. Now, as far as the contents are concerned, diagnostic evaluation can be helpful for the teachers in improving their instruction because results of diagnostic evaluation can help the teachers to determine the length of time to allot for each topic or lesson or content to be delivered to the students. In addition, the teacher will be able to use or may be able to use the results of diagnostic evaluation in determining how long it will take the students to master a certain skill or concept, mathematical concept, and also how long they will take to master a mathematical skill. And the next type of evaluation is the formative evaluation. Just as there is a formative assessment, there is a formative evaluation. Now, during the instruction, it is important or necessary for the teacher to monitor the progress or growth of the students, to be able to know how well the students are learning the concepts and the skills, and to also know for the teacher how well she is attaining the learning goals or her plans. And the last type of evaluation is the summative evaluation, which is which is undertaken at the end of a unit, or at the end of a semester, or at the end of a school year. Now, the main purpose of summative evaluation is to have a description, a grade for the students that will describe grades for the students that will describe their level of performance and achievement, academic achievement, at the end of the school year or semester or grading period. And this helps the teacher in disposing her responsibility of reporting the grades and performances of her students. Now, with regards to formative evaluation, it is in this type of evaluation that the teachers provide activities to determine more comprehensively the attainment of the learning goals and learning objectives, and in some of the activities the teacher may give for formative evaluation are quizzes, short quizzes, assignments or homeworks, recitation, and the teacher may also make use of observation to monitor the progress of students. That is observation during the time or periods when the students are actively engaged in a learning activity in a classroom setting or outside of the classroom setting. And that completes our lesson for today on evaluation in mathematics. In the next lesson, we will take up the the techniques and procedures for evaluation in mathematics. For your assignment, please do the following exercises. Construct 3 true or false items for A, low level of understanding, and B, high level of understanding. As in the examples we had earlier, you use the same concept or topic or lesson to construct a statement that is either true or false, a statement that will only test the low level of understanding of students, and use the same concept, topic, or lesson to construct a statement that is either true or false but would test whether the student has a high level of understanding of that concept. So you will have 3 true or false items that would indicate low level of understanding of students, and 3 true or false statements that would indicate high level of understanding of students. But the 3 statements for letter A and 3 statements for letter B would use the same concept or topic or lesson in mathematics, in any mathematics that you have taken before. Number 2, answer the following questions. Letter A, why do we evaluate? Letter B, how does evaluation help in improving instruction? And that's the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for joining me in my class in assessment and evaluation in mathematics.